I hope she got, but we already changed it. So that we miss them. I told them, oh, is it because you're back to work? They might ask, we want to get you home. So we miss it as long as we like. I thought the same Can I do my update? I was just going to talk about how I decided to work with Robert and talk unless you tell me that.
It's no reason to shy from it.
Because I wanted to talk about some of the training. It would give us an opportunity to talk about the training.
No reason to shy from it. Folks, I have 4 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Please join me in a moment of silence. Keep in mind those folks in Texas and all those folks in our community who don't have adequate air conditioning during this week. The heat's very, very real. So thank you. Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Call a roll. Dr. O'Neill.
Present.
Mr. Heater is out of the country. Dr. Bales.
Present.
Ms. Barnes-Griffin.
Present.
Mr. Irvin.
Present.
Mr. Lowe.
Present.
Thank you all. Welcome this evening. We will go right into Mr. Jerome with regard to the wonderful accomplishments of the Southside Robotics team this season. So, Brian, the floor is yours. Oh, I see some robots coming in.
Unfortunately, oh, is this on? Does it matter? I don't know. Hello? Is it on? Is it? Okay. Well, hello, everyone. For those of you who may not remember me, I was here about a little more than a year ago. I'm Brian Jerome. I'm the technology and engineering teacher at Southside Middle School. I just finished my second year teaching. And for purposes of this meeting, I will be talking about the robotics team and kind of an update on where we are from where we were a year ago. So last year, I think I presented to you guys about right before we were scheduled to compete at the World Championship for Robotics for VexIQ. That was all held virtually, so it was all held at Southside. It wasn't held at any sort of venue. We were able to compete remotely against teams from around the world. We ended up finishing in 7th place in our division. So that was a really big accomplishment. Unfortunately, all of those people then moved on to the high school, so I had to completely rebuild for this season. So obviously, it still turned out pretty well. We still had, instead of just one team, we actually had 2 teams compete at the World Championship for Robotics, which was held this year in Dallas, Texas, in person. So we were all really excited it was in person. So we took 5 kids down to Dallas, Texas, all students from Southside. Some of the pictures that are rotating right now will probably show their faces, sometimes smiling, sometimes competing. Took 5 kids down, 2 8th graders, Braden Whitaker and Xavier Sevian, 1 7th grader, Molly Thorlton, and then 2 6th graders, Connor Cross and Brian Grill. So these 5 kids all worked really, really hard this season. Their robots I have sitting in front of you. I would drive them around, but I don't. Their controllers are packed away in my classroom, so I didn't want to dig them out here this afternoon. So I just have the robots for display, and since they're kind of little, if you guys want to just take a look at them after the meeting, I'll still be around for a while. So at the competition itself, the game changes every year. So last year I was here showing you, the students actually showed you their robot, which was able to stack these colorful risers on top of each other for points. This year's game was kind of like basketball, where you had to shoot these little yellow balls. There's one of the robots has it on there. You had to launch those into a center goal for 6 points, or there was a lower goal for 2 points. And then you could hang on the bars, or these bars across the field, for additional points at the end of a match. So these kids built these robots or they probably started on these particular ones in March, and right after we found out that we got into Worlds, they started getting to work and rebuilding their robots to get it ready to compete at the World Championship level. So it took them about 3 or 4 weeks to be able to get it to this point here. And once we were done with them, they had some time to practice. We shipped them out to Texas. Once we were there, we were able to compete on 2 different days. One of the days we had 7 matches, the other day we had 3. The days with 7 matches were really long. I told the kids it would be. They were competing from about 8 in the morning to, I think the last match was at 6:30 in the evening. So they were competing pretty much the whole time. And if anyone's ever been a coach of middle schoolers, sometimes they listen to you, sometimes they don't. That was kind of a little bit of a learning process of getting them to take some advice from me. Usually the second day went a lot better. They faced a lot of adversity that first day. Things weren't going right. The robot wasn't working as well. Their partners weren't as good. So it was a learning experience. Kind of got through that, and then they started getting a little bit more comfortable with the robots, getting more comfortable talking to these alliance partners that they had, and they were able to do a lot better on the second day. Both times scoring triple digits in a couple of their last matches, which were really, really good scores. The World Championship itself has over 80 plus countries represented. I think it was probably a little bit less this year because of COVID. It takes place over 9 days. We were just there on the 3rd section, which was, I think, 3 separate days. So the kids were having to communicate with teams from all over the country. The B team, which was Braden and Brian, they both had to communicate with teams from London. They had 2 separate times where they were with teams from London, so they had to talk to those teams and be able to figure out a way to strategize and make a plan for the matches. Whereas the other group, the A team, was one of their matches they were with Slovenia, and then another match they were with a team from Colombia as well. And I think that I got pictures of those ones somewhere rotating on there where they're actually playing a practice match with the team from Colombia and then talking to the team from Slovenia as well. So these kids were having to build up their conversational skills, and these middle schoolers were having to actually like put themselves out there, and it's like, okay, go talk to your alliance partner. So they'd have to go find them and then walk to them and then talk to them. So they would have to communicate with everybody and anybody pretty much. So at the beginning it was a little bit slower, but by the end it was a lot better. So they had a really good time. We got to experience a lot of things walking around just Dallas, Texas in general outside of the venue. They had some good times just walking around the different booths and meeting everybody. So the pins that you guys all have at your spots, pretty much every single team had one of whatever team that they were there. So they had a really good time on that first day going around and gathering them from all over the place. So that's what they spent some of their extra time doing, and getting to meet and talk to these other people from all over the place. How they ended up finishing, they ended up doing really, really well, considering that this was a whole new group of kids that had never really done this before. The A team, they ended up finishing 59th out of 74 in their division. And then the B team ended up finishing 46th out of, I think, again, 74 or 75 in their division. So for a new team, that's actually really good. Like I said, it helped that they finished on a really, really good note to help really improve themselves. So that was definitely a really good thing to end on with them. So now for next year, we have a new game and get to prepare them again. I think 3 of them will be coming back. The other 2 are going to Central to be able to compete there. And I was also a part of Central's Robotics. I would kind of be mad at myself if I didn't mention them as well. Central also competed in 2 events this year, finished in the top 10 of both of those. One student carried over from Southside to Central, so hopefully next year I've helped build a little bit of buzz and interest, so hopefully Central can be able to compete next year at the World Championship. Unfortunately, they did not qualify this year, but that's the goal, is to try and get as many of these kids involved as possible.
Any questions for Brian?
Hi.
We were there, we flew in on May 7th, so we were there the afternoon of the 7th and then all day, the 8th, 9th, and 10th, and then we flew back on the afternoon of the 11th of May. 4 out of the 5 kids, that was their first time flying.
Huh.
So I think there's one picture in there that has them where they're all in the airplane, looking happy, even though some of them were kind of nervous, but yeah.
So I'm curious, are you given a box of parts?
Yeah,
And they
so
say, go make whatever you want to make, or?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they have a different game every single year, so
Right.
you're trying to build a robot to be able to do that certain game. So we were able to get a lot of kits from a grant that Chuck helped me acquire through Ball Brothers Foundation to get a lot of these initial kits and parts to be able to build these things. And the purpose of it is for you to be able to work together to build your robot for the specific competition, whatever it may be. I kind of lost my train of thought on that. But yes, you do have a certain kit of parts. They all have to be Vex IQ parts, the brand of the company that creates it. You all have to create it out of all of those different parts and pieces and end up with something
Yeah.
like this. It's pretty much all, yeah, it's pretty much all plastic pieces as well for these particular robots.
So do you find most teams morph to the same type of design?
That have like the same type of design as these
Yeah,
ones?
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much every single team at the World Championship had pretty much this
Pretty
type
much
of
the same
design,
type
and
of
that's
lever, yeah.
both of these robots. They found a YouTube video and reverse engineered it. They were like, okay, this is what they're doing, and then they saw another one. It's like, well, this is what this team's doing. So they kind of reverse engineered to improve their own robots, and then they got to this point where we pretty much had 2 of identical robots that we had sent, and it was pretty similar to a lot of people's. And sometimes that happens. Just with technology and people sharing them on YouTube and everything. Sometimes they end up looking very similar at the end, but yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
So what are some like the practical life skills? Like, so have you got any students say, I want to go into, I don't know, or?
Well, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that, because I've had a ton of kids. Well, actually, the one girl who got it started and off the ground last year, she didn't want to do anything in really STEM or whatever. She wanted to be, I think her initial plan was to be a sign language interpreter. And so she didn't really have any sort of interest in it outside of school, but in school she really, really wanted to do this, and she thought that this was a really cool opportunity. And there's also a component where there's also writing and documentation of engineering notebooks. There's also a component, like I had mentioned, where you have to go and talk to these other teams and make plans and communicate with these people from not only around the country, but around the world as well. So there's a lot of other practical skills other than just being able to drive a robot and build a robot. Yeah, you could want to do anything after this and still end up learning a lot from robotics.
Well, Brian, thank you for the opportunities
Yeah.
you gave to our students. I mean, what wonderful experiences. And then I have to say, I love that I think that Chuck may be giving you more lessons than just ordering materials, because you're sporting Southside colors and your shoes match as well. So there you go.
That's why I got the shoes, to match all my stuff.
So, Brian, could I lean on you a little bit in terms of how much, not how much, but did anybody talk to Ball Brothers about our results this year?
No, we'll put it in the quarterly update.
Okay, and you might offer to Judd to do a presentation to his board if he would like it.
And even the slides you put together
Yeah.
tonight, I think we can send those slides to the Ball Brother Foundation.
And that also kind of reminds me, I would be really, I would also be kind of mad at myself to not talk about the other sponsors that helped us get there and the other people that got us there, because it wasn't just Chuck that got us our initial kits last year. Probably the teachers, or the one teacher, Rachel Yoder from Southside, who was also there helping, and as well as the one parent, Rick Grill, and my dad, Brad, who was also there on the trip as well. They all were a big help when we were down there, kind of wrangling kids. And then also our sponsors, George and Francis Ball Foundation, they were a really big help on getting everyone there. Core Construction was also a very big sponsor that really helped us be able to acquire a lot of stuff for this trip.
Okay, thank you to all the sponsors. who helped out. I think this is a remarkable project, and you guys have clearly done a great job. I was pleased that you stuck your dad next to a window. He didn't get an aisle seat.
The kids were all scared.
They didn't want windows.
They were so scared, all four of them, they did not want to do a window at all.
Okay. Well, next year we'll see if we can get some in the windows. Do you need anything from the board for this coming year with regard to the program?
I think we're pretty much already set for next year. I was able to get a lot of the resources that I already need already lined up. So just continued support and advertisement of the great things that we're doing at Southside.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Dr. Kay.
Well, as we prepare for next school year, I wanted to mention that we reworked our reopening COVID protocols. They aren't changing too much, but why this is important is DIA needs this information it's a federal requirement that we have it on our website, and we have to show that the board, it was mentioned at a board meeting, so this is serving that purpose. So Cindy will make sure she includes that in the notes, and we'll be all set. We have summer programs going on since last week, and they are going strong. Career Camp started this week in the Career Center with Caleb. He talked about how much fun the kids are having. I know Chris has a school full of kids at the high school, not only high school students, but that's where our newcomers program. So we have from kindergartners all the way through with our newcomers program, and then our adult English learner program is taking place. I see Kelsey and Shelby are both here. They really are running that program and creating the materials and orchestrating all the, with all the different teachers who are teaching it. So I'm thankful for them. And I read 3 at Grissom and at Northview. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the 100 kids that are out at Camp Adventure. I received an email today, and they said it's hot today. So we'll make sure they have plenty of popsicles tomorrow, and we should be in good shape. So it's all going really well. We also have summer meals taking place. So Southside Middle School and Central, any student 18 and younger can go to the school for a meal between 11 and 12:30. Northview and Grissom are serving meals between 11 and 12. We have Camp Adventure also is serving breakfast and lunch. And then Longfellow in July, when we have MP3 starting up at Longfellow, they'll be serving meals. And so we're making sure we keep our families fed this summer. And then I finally wanted to mention that I'm really looking forward to working with Robert Scaife with Legacy for Life. Met with him a couple times now, we all have, and we have some extensive training that's going to take place beginning the week of July 18th. So the first week, all of the folks that he hires will be going to Carmel for SRO training, 40 hours of SRO training. The next week, they're going to be doing shooting drills, which, I'm not a law enforcement, so I don't know the proper term for that, but they'll be practicing shooting that week. The following week, they're going to be doing active shooting drills for the week, and then they're going to follow it with cultural competency training. Jenny Smithson's team will be providing a day of CPI training, which is de-escalation skills that we offer all of our staff. And then they also are going to do, if I haven't mentioned it, cultural competency, and then family and community engagement. And so they will take place in all of that, so they should be able to hit the ground strong when we start out at the beginning of the school year. So Robert has just really been a delight, very, very respected in the community, and very serious about the work he's going to be doing. So I'm excited to work with Legacy for Life.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kay. You might want to mention the Cradle to Career Board that has been formed by George and Francis.
Yes. So we have as all of you know, that we have our Cradle to Career work, and each of the metrics has what we call a CAN, which is a collaborative action network. So for our pre-K, by 5 is leading the pre-K work. Muncie Community Schools is part of it, along with many of our community partners. Third grade reading, Jenny Marsh is leading that group. Then we go to 8th grade math, which is Innovation Connector. Then we start with the group I'm leading, which is our high school CAN group. Chris and his team, along with many of our community partners, are very involved with, creating goals and strategies aligned to that, focusing on our graduation rate. And then we have our post-secondary success with Ivy Tech and Ball State leading that group. And then it gets into careers. And so we have Elizabeth Rowray who's leading that group. And so all the different CAN leaders come together along with other folks from the community for leadership meetings. We had a meeting this morning where we continue to look at ways to work together across the community to help our students and actually all of our families.
So this is modeled on the Strive Together network that I believe you all may recall. We had a keynote speaker at the first Innovation Summit in, I believe, 2018. And our application, Muncie's application to the Strive Together network will be going in this summer, I think.
Yes, next month or so.
Next month. And so that's an important event. I'm very proud of the work that Muncie Community Schools has done because our innovation plan is actually the guiding document for the collaborative action networks for each component of it. So that's an exciting thing. George and Francis is the leading foundation, and I'm very, very comfortable with the group and the progress that we're going to make there. So. And then really good news on the Innovation Summit and our keynote speaker.
Yes, so September 16th is our summit, and we've worked very hard to be able to, Jeffrey Canada, how can I forget? We've been trying to get Jeffrey Canada forever. So he is with a Harlem Children's Network. And he went into Harlem, one of the areas that had lowest performance. Many metrics were great need in the community. And by bringing the community together and working closely with the school district, they have seen tremendous success. And if you have never heard from Jeffrey Canada today, he is one of the best speakers, and he will certainly motivate all of us. But not only can he motivate us, he really has the results to go with what he's encouraging us to be able to do. And so I encourage everybody, it's going to be held at the high school, so we'll be in the auditorium, but we'll make sure that we have a room in the cafeteria where there's a screen, so we'll make sure anyone who wants to hear him can join us on that day on the 16th at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone here tonight and then everyone who's watching to take a look on YouTube at the work that Jeffrey Canada has done. It is a remarkable opportunity for the city of Muncie. And thanks to Dean Murray at the Teachers College, who had a connection with Jeffrey Canada. And so to have him come to Muncie is really a feather in the cap of the community. So with that, anything further from Dr. K?
I think that's
Any
good.
questions? Okay, any public comments, Andy? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda, and before we go into that, I want to welcome some folks tonight. We have Kayla, and help me with the pronunciation of your last name. Arguello. Kayla Arguello, if you want to stand up and introduce yourself, you can go to the podium. Kayla is going to join us as the new assistant principal at Central High School, so welcome.
little taller than what I am, apologize. I'm Kayla Arguello. My husband and 1-year-old stepped out, but I am joined by them today. He's held on as long as he could for the board meeting this evening, but they are my support system, so that it was important for all of us to be here. I'm coming from southwest side of Indianapolis, originally from Muncie area. Was a Head Start kid actually here in Delaware County and graduated from Jay County 12 years ago or so. I've served as an assistant principal on the southwest side of Indianapolis in Decatur Township for the past 3 years, been there 6, but now with my family, my roots are here, my family's here, on top of just really excited with the progress and everything that's happening here at Muncie. I've been following for quite some time, and when the central job opened, it pulled at my heart, and meeting Mr. Walker and his team just felt like it was a great fit. It was the best interview I think I've ever been a part of. Like, we were just having really great conversation. That was actually something Mr. Walker and I talked about after the fact. I'm like, I almost felt like I wasn't interviewing because we connected so well. So I'm just really excited to be a part of Muncie and everything that is happening here, and grateful to join all of you and see the progress that we're going to make and continue to make as the years to come. So thank you so much.
Your husband and son stepped back in. So if
They
you wanna
did join
introduce
back in, so they were so quiet. So I have Eric. Eric is my husband, and then Sawyer is our 1-year-old son. Just turned 1 in April. Future Bearcat, we hope. So
them. Well,
that is who is here with
Sawyer's
us this
been
evening.
great this evening.
He's hanging in. He just woke up from a nap, so it's the energy's kicking in, is what I had told a couple people before. So
Well, welcome, and we are certainly glad to have you.
I'm
So,
very excited to
thank
be here. Thank you all so much.
We would introduce now Randy McCracken. Randy, if you want to come on up. Randy's going to join us as an assistant principal at Southside Middle School.
I'm Randy McCracken. It's actually a year ago in June, I retired at a board meeting. And it's kind of ironic that I'd be back here now taking another position. A year ago, I wasn't sure that I wanted to get out of education, but I was sure that I wanted to do something different. And being here at Muncie, especially, the opportunity that I had at Grissom, and then when they asked me to go to Southside, some people said, you don't want to go to Southside, but it's really been a good experience. And I think there's a lot of good things happening at Southside, a lot of good things happening in Muncie. I appreciated all the support I had from Dr. K, Chuck, Dylan, and Dr. Bell. It's just been a good experience and feels real comfortable. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, welcome, Randy, and we are certainly glad to have you.
Thank you.
So- And this one gives me particular personal joy. Kelsey Pavlika is rejoining us. So come on up and tell us about it.
It's down.
This honestly feels like to me when Pete Rose got the Reds back, or the Reds got Pete Rose back. So when I was a kid, he left the Reds for the Phillies and then finally made his way back. I feel like the city of Cincinnati.
Thank you. Yes, I am so excited to join Muncie Community Schools again. My departure was quick, and when the community of Muncie got the opportunity to connect with families across the world, I am so glad that Dr. K reached out, and so I've been working with the middle and high school boys on their English skills this past semester. And so I'm very excited to take on this new role. And I think it shows a lot of the board's willingness and eagerness to create opportunities for our multilingual students. And so I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity to grow and strengthen the programs that we already have here from K-12 into our adult ed programs. And I'm really eager to make something that is kind of a model, an innovative model to the surrounding areas that draws more families, more multilingual families into our district.
The board is tickled, and we just are happy that you're back. And so anything you need, let us know. One question, my wife was on me all day about getting in touch with Sadiq to make sure his family had air conditioning. Do all of our families have places, safe places?
That is a great question. They are all extremely happy with the weather. like
Okay.
extremely, want to keep the windows open, not close the blinds in the classroom, happy with the weather.
Okay.
But I will check about the air conditioning.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure. I know that when the families came in November, they were absolutely freezing. And so I told my wife that I would check, and I would ask that I would see you this evening.
Yes,
So,
I will double check.
Any additional questions for Kelsey?
So do the boys ever wear shorts? Because I know the ones that are out at Camp Adventure are still wearing pants. So I didn't
Yeah.
know, do they need shorts or they just will always wear pants?
That's a great question. I know that they have shorts.
So they're just wearing pants, that's
Yes,
what they're
and there's also
selecting to
long
do.
sleeve shirts that are still being worn.
Okay,
So I
Yeah, and
didn't.
the girls' classroom is in a huge classroom at central wall of windows, and they do not want the windows shut, even when the sun is like pounding in. So, but yes, I will definitely check with Sadiq and make sure that we have clear communication about.
okay.
So I did a mission trip about 5 or 6 years ago where I was with a number of folks from Afghanistan, and we were told not to wear shorts. So I don't know if that's
Interesting, yeah.
an issue, but certainly if there are anything that any of our families need throughout Muncie Community Schools that you're aware of, let us know.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And then on the personnel or on the consent agenda, we have a number of personnel items. Want to recognize those folks who are moving on or retiring. We have 2 retirements, I believe, Don Claghorn and Jill Hermanette. Dawn at Southside Middle School, Jill at Grissom. So thank you for their years of service. We have done, I think we dealt with the issue of the retirement regrettably some time ago, but we have in our midst our own Dylan Phelps, who I believe this is her last board meeting. So if you wish to be heard on anything, the floor is yours.
I just really want to thank everyone for just being just wonderful to me, the board. You guys are just awesome. I know we have some people here that I've talked to, follow-up interviews, and I know I gloat about the board and how great our board is, and it's due to our board and the hard work of Brad and some others that we're able to give the amounts that we are able to give to our staff. So, just thank you for always having my back and supporting me. Cabinet, I tell you, dear, you get ready to step into just being around some awesome people. You already are around some awesome people, but, in a more intimate way as far as meeting with the cabinet. And cabinet's in good hands, and so are you. I just want to thank everyone, really. I am going to be back here September the 16th.
Okay.
My daughter, Jada, is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, Ball State University. And so I'm real proud of her and, and my kids and my grandkids. So that's what I'm going to be doing, visiting grandkids. 3 live out of state, and I have 5 siblings that live all over. And so I'm just going to play catch up with everyone.
Well,
So
we
thank
wish you the
so
very
much.
best. Thank you so much. So with that, we have our consent agenda and the items in the consent agenda. Are there any questions concerning any of those items? Hearing,
I noticed the attachment for fundraising was left out. There was one fundraiser for Mr. Paget and Mr. Owen to share a golf outing at the end of July.
I was looking for the fundraiser and I didn't see it in there,
Yeah,
so,
I'm sorry,
okay.
that was
That's all
an
right.
oversight on my part, but it's at the end of July.
Okay.
And they anticipate about $12,000 to share for equipment and the needs of both programs equally.
Okay. Any questions regarding the fundraiser that's been added to the agenda? Where's the outing?
Pardon?
Do we know where the outing is going to be? Is it listed there?
It's at one of the golf clubs.
Mr. Walker?
Lee Delaware Country Club.
Okay, thank you. Any questions concerning any item on the personnel agenda, or the consent agenda, pardon me?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Dr. Reynolds, Virtual Academy.
Yes, good evening. I'm asking for approval tonight to apply with the IDOE for a new school number for our virtual program that will be converted into a standalone school. So in pursuant with Indiana Code 20-19-9-4, school corporations that have at least 100 students, which right now I believe that we'll hit that threshold for our request for the the Muncie Virtual Academy. They have to have a school number. To get that process started, we have to have board approval for the request, and then I'll work with the IDOE to establish a number. In your packet, you'll see our full Muncie Virtual Academy handbook is in there. A few highlights that I've pulled out and put on that board action item talk about onboarding. So that is one of the requirements per the new statute from the Indiana Department of Education, attendance guidelines, grading policies. And those are just a few highlights I pulled out of the entire book that is listed in your packet. We're excited about the opportunity. We believe that this will streamline our communication processes. Reaching our families will be much easier, and be able to hopefully support those students and families a lot better.
And we'll have some checks and balances put in place for, we're just not going to be letting students flow in or easily throughout the school.
Right. So we will have. So what we did this year, we a little bit of a clunky process, but we had students enroll in their home schools and then apply for a transfer to a program, which made things a little clunky. But what it did do was help us start a system of communicating with the principals and the families to really help them understand what the virtual academy is. It is a terrific opportunity, but it's not necessarily for everybody. So part of that onboarding process is explain the undertaking when you work with the Muncie Virtual Academy.
Okay. Any questions concerning the virtual academy?
And that would be the name then. We'll have to have, that will be our name of the school.
Muncie Virtual Academy. Mm-hmm. How many letters do you have to earn to get a jacket?
Well, we're still working on the jacket and the mascot.
Okay. Anybody have a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved. Second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Mr. Jerome.
Thank you. Also presented in your board packet tonight is the financial report for the results for the month of May. Always happy to report we still are receiving our state basic grant this past month of $3.4 million. Still expecting to receive about $41.8 million at the end of December. Year-to-date payroll is up about $1 million. That's primarily due to the pandemic stipend that we paid in April. We did not have any long-term debt payments in May. Those will happen in June. And still expecting, we had a $35 million cash balance at the end of May. Still expecting a cash balance overall of over probably $34 million at the end of December. And still expecting a surplus position in the education fund also at the end of December. Paying back on the state loan at $50,000 a month. And the only really concern is I've noted that on the appropriation report on page 4 and then the middle of page 2 is the operation fund really running probably a little higher than we expected. We expect to spend about $12.6 million, and last year, of course, we spent a little over $13 million. So that's something that we're concerned about a bit. That's why we're asking for an additional appropriation here a little bit later tonight in our meeting, because operation fund takes the hit of the tax cap. That's why we have to kind of be conservative on that fund where we can. So other than that, I've accompanied the irregular graphs that shows almost by any measure, our cash balances are still going up, and we're always lowest in the months of April and October, right before you receive your property taxes. I'll have much more information, as you'd expect, when I do your budget presentation for you about August 9th, as we'll talk about 2023 budget. It's hard to believe it's that time of year again, but the months of July, I'll be putting that information together. And then also we'll be converting our financial statements from cash basis of accounting to accrual accounting in the month of July for purposes of the Ball State audit that we do. Also, this will be the fourth year for that. So other
So
than
do we have
that, that's your report.
Do we have a date for SBOA coming in yet?
Right now, it probably won't be State Board of Accounts. It'll be the Crow, the outside auditors. They're expecting probably the second week in August.
So I have to brag on Brad and his team. The last time the auditors were in and they were doing the closing meetings, they just commented they can see a tremendous difference from when this board took place and Brad and his team started in the office compared to where they are now. And so they really were giving our business office lots of kudos, and I just appreciate them, as I know all of you do too.
So I would echo that. Mr. Jerome, my memory of that first year was there were and this may be wrong, but my memory is 74 exceptions.
We had 16 audit comments and findings that I had to write 16 audit comments and action plan.
Yeah, and I don't know where I got the 74 number. But
it was very lengthy, and
It may have been 74 pages.
yeah, I
Jim.
don't remember.
You'd prefer not to have comments and findings on anything, but it just speaks to our team in the business office as well as all the directors here, because it's a team effort on the processes we put in place. And so we're very pleased that the audits have gone well, and we're really audited all the time. We're audited on an annual basis. It's not like every 2 years now, it's on an annual basis. We're audited both federal funds as well as for the accrual accounting audit with Ball State. So we're always pleased to have a good report.
So, and just for the benefit of everyone who's listening tonight, the accrual audit with Ball State came about after the partnership.
Yes.
And that is an annual audit. It was unique. It is unique for public school corporations. And so the fact that we have been, it does add a layer of accountability. And it's been healthy for this board and healthy for this corporation.
And we were the first school that the State Board of Accounts ever had to audit under accrual accounting. Now I think they're up to about number 17 or 18. But because there's so many districts receiving federal ESSER funds, that's why they can't keep up with the audits. That's why they've had to outsource them to outside accounting firms. So,
well, thank you to you and your staff and all that they do. It's a source of pride to me, and I know it is to the board, so thank you. So with that, do I hear a motion to approve the financial report?
So moved.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll show that passing. Waiver for protected taxes.
yeah, what I like to do, this is also in your board packet for tonight, it just lets you be aware and ask for permission to approve this. We qualify once again at Muncie Schools for the waiver of the implementation of protected taxes. What this allows us to do is, because of the tax caps that we have in place, which are significant, and I think the percentage was 85%, that we basically could potentially lose. It allows us to transfer money from debt service to operation fund. It doesn't give us more money. It just allows us more flexibility, because number one, you have to meet your debts. You have to be able to pay your debts, and that's in debt service. So this is just something that we qualified for. The DLGF does the calculation for us, and they put it in front of us. So I just wanted to also put that in front of the board and ask permission to implement this if we so choose later this calendar year.
Okay, any questions regarding the waiver? Hearing none, would entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. We'll count Mr. Irvin as the second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Fiscal year-end transfers.
Yes, thank you. Also, because we are coming to the end of June, I always like to ask permission of the board to make any fiscal year-end transfers, to remove any negative balances and put them back in a positive position for purposes of month end or fiscal year end closing. Not anticipating any negative balances at the present time, but just asking permission to put anything back to a positive position if need be.
Okay, any questions regarding fiscal year end transfers? Would entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Been moved. I'll second it. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. We need to go into a public hearing, I believe. Is that the case?
Yep, and I can read the preamble for that and help do the
Please do.
setup for that
Please
for
do.
you. At this time, I'd like to have the board president and the school board conduct a public hearing at this time to give the public a chance to respond or comment about an additional appropriation that we've advertised in the amount of $1.6 million for the rainy day fund for the purposes of unexpected capital repairs and or payback of funds toward the state loan of $12 million. And then after the public hearing is completed, the school board will then consider for passage the following resolution that's listed there that establishes the additional appropriation for the 2022 budget for fund number 610 rainy day in the amount of $1.6 million. By doing this, we're not increasing our budget. We are increasing the appropriation only for the rainy day fund. We're not taxing the public. We're not, because we already have the funds set aside. They're sitting there in the rainy day fund. We have a little over 12.1 million. This just gives us the authority to spend it. And the reason I wanted to bring this to the board and to give us a little bit of flexibility as we run a little tighter in the operation fund by the end of this calendar year. And also it allows me the ability to start paying back the state loan. I can start offsetting that against the rainy day fund instead of taking it against the education fund. So that'll have a double effect. It'll reduce expenses out of education fund, plus we already have the money set aside in rainy day right now. So that's why I asked permission to be able to do this. Gives us flexibility in our budgeting, and we already have the money set aside, so it's really just giving us the authority to spend it.
Okay, so we will open the public hearing on the request for additional appropriation from the rainy day fund. The notice is given to the taxpayers of Muncie Community Schools, the school corporation, that the board will meet today at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. I guess we're close to that, to consider the following additional appropriation, considering the board considers necessary to meet existing needs at this time. An appropriation in the amount not to exceed $1.6 million on account of the payback of funds towards the state loan and on account of unexpected capital repairs in the district. These funds to meet such an additional appropriation are already available in the rainy day fund for MCS. The request for this additional appropriation will be for rainy day fund number 610 in the budget. I believe that's the budget number, isn't it?
Yes.
The foregoing appropriation is in addition to all appropriations provided for in the existing budget and tax levy, and a need for such appropriation exists by reason of the present state loan payback terms, as well as necessary capital repairs in the district. By granting this additional appropriation, the Board of Trustees is not increasing the MCS tax rate, nor is it increasing the local levy to be collected, since the funds in the current MCS rainy day fund are already at the balance of $12.120 million. So are there any taxpayers present who wish to be heard on this additional appropriation? Anyone you wish to be heard on this additional appropriation? Hearing none, would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move on to the resolution approving the additional appropriation as just articulated effectively by Mr. Jerome and by my reading of the notice. Would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we will show the additional appropriation and the resolution approved. Mr. Jerome? Okay. At this point, we have a special treat. Going back to our consent agenda, we have Aisha. Aisha Allen, come on up. Join us at the podium. So Aisha is going to be our principal at Northview Elementary, so welcome. And we had moved the meeting to 4, so your
I'm
timing.
sorry, I did
No,
not
that
know.
was our fault.
I apologize.
No. Put your heart back in your chest. It's all good. Your timing was exquisite because now you get to close the meeting. And you can talk as long as you want. So tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, President Williams and members of the board, and Dr. Kay and members of the cabinet, thank you all for entrusting me with the responsibility of leading this wonderful school. I'm looking forward to working with the teachers and the students and the faculty at Northview in this new capacity. My goal is to continue the upward pathway of academic excellence established by Ms. Heidi White. So thank you so much. I'm finishing up my 15th year with Muncie Schools. I started my teaching career here, and I plan on being here for a long time coming.
Well, we are happy to have you. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio. I moved here after college and started working for Muncie Schools. I was married in 2008 to my high school sweetheart, and we have 4 children who are Muncie School students, and that's it.
Great.
Let's see.
Tell
3
us.
different schools.
So tell us about your kids. What are their ages, names?
Okay, my youngest is Maya. She is 4. She will be starting preschool this year
Okay.
at Westview. And then Libby, she's going to be a 2nd grader in a dual language program. And Avery is 9, and she will be a 4th grader at EWA in the ELP program. And my son Justice is 13, and he is an 8th grader at Northside.
Well, we are so pleased.
Yes, going into 8th grade, yes.
Okay, we are so pleased to have you. And if there's anything that you need in your work at Northview, let us know. And we'll look forward to your presentation this coming year. And it's going to be exciting. We're very excited for you and for that school. So.
Thank you. And once again, I apologize for being late.
Oh, no.
You're not late, you're early.
I
You're
really thought it
15 minutes early.
Yeah, no. Don't worry about that at all.
Okay.
I walked into a wedding once as the bride was coming back out. So, with her husband. That was late. So no, not at all. Any questions? So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, dialogue of the board and future recommendations. Just to remind everyone that we have a board education session which by statute is not open to the public. That will be on the 28th at the offices of Defer Varan, and that is education by an outside consultant regarding a number of issues, including assessments, accountability, literacy, and security. So we'll see you all on the 28th. Is there anything further? Three. I think we've got a couple hours set aside, right? Is it 4 or 3? It's 4. Is it 4? 4, I'm sorry. You would be more than welcome at 3. And we could probably get some things done. I'm just going to start everything an hour early. And then tell people they're late when they get there. Now, Latasha, tell the board and everybody that's watching the plans for this weekend on June 19th.
Oh, so Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
It's June 19th, but it'll take place on June 18th in Muncie. because we want to honor fathers on the 19th. So 3 to 9 at McCullough Park, there'll be an opening ceremony with that Juneteenth committee, the mayor, and those sponsors will kind of give opening remarks. Music, food, vendors, just a lot of celebration around Juneteenth. It's our third year for us here, and just in honor of slaves really being emancipated and free. And it started down in Gallatin, Texas, and so here we are in so come out to the park, get some good food, and listen to some good music and some spoken word, and they've got some community awards and given some scholarships to some
Good.
kids and stuff. I thought he was asking me to talk about the fact that we were heading, we were going north to get here, and all the road was blocked. So I got out and put the cones. And this guy in the car behind me, and it's Jim.
Well, I was just tickled pink. I felt like this, it's like the good Lord opened up that and made the way. So I drove right through, and now that the highway guy, he was back there throwing his hat on the ground. We just made our own road.
That's what we do.
You're not going to block us from this meeting. So those of you who are new to these meetings, we try to enjoy ourselves just a little bit. So anything else before we wrap it up? Dial in, how many board meetings have you attended? 10,000?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. She pulled out an email today from 2000 and forwarded to us. They said, "Oh, here, you could. This is helpful. Take this," and sent it to cabinet today. From
So we
2000.
joked with her because we had to purchase a new server because we're at capacity, and we said, well, when she retires, we could send it back because everything that she has saved on those servers.
So you pulled an email out from 2000?
I did. We needed an answer.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's amazing. So that's a perfect example of the institutional memory that we're losing. So don't make yourself a stranger, please. Stop and see us anytime.
We do have her phone number, don't we?
Especially when there's some food out.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Oh, you're welcome.
I said, how did you know I collect angels? And he said he didn't know that.
Oh,
But you
that's
guys
great.
in my office, you know I have my angels, you know, kind of watching over me at the top. So,
Well, I always thought that from the time we started in this endeavor, you never seemed flustered. And so that's why I bought that mug today at Normandy.
says no one panic, I have to.
So, I mean, there were times when I'd go, now, how many people do we have to hire? You know, I don't know, 40. It's only August 1st, but you were all calm. Well, it's been a joy. So, thank you. Anything further before we call it do we have any media, Andy? So, anything further before we call it an evening? Okay. All those in favor signify. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Everybody have a nice evening. Thank you.